the stream may have broke. Let me just look at my metrics here. I don't see any dropped frames here. Looks good to me. I'm not sure. Maybe my internet cut out for just a moment? We might be back now. I'm not sure. Hopefully it's okay. I'm gonna keep going. Because my... like, Streamlabs isn't telling me that anything bad happened. Alright, let me hold on. Let me see here. Hold on. Let's check here. No, it's still up on the Twitch. It says here. Cut out about the time you said homogeneous. Oh, okay. So I think the most that was missed there was me talking about like the no shoes in the house thing in Japanese culture. You're probably gonna head to sleep now? Well, hopefully you have a good night. Better night than Toad is having right now. Although I'm still number 1. You know, that the stream cutting out thing happened the other day too when I was doing Minecraft. About this far into the stream as well, so... I'm wondering if we're hitting some sort of upper ceiling here on how much my ISP can handle my dang streams. Yeah, just miss the item boxes entirely. If I took my shoes off when I entered a house, everyone would put theirs on and leave. Ah! Oh, I see. At first I was like, is this a serious statement? And then I was like, oh, it is joke about feet. Feet, by the way, are one of the grossest things. Have you ever seen a foot before? Here's an extraordinarily cursed idea, and I realized I was driving on the grass there. Mickey Mouse, no shoes, but with toes and toenails. Mickey Mouse, no shoes, but with toes and toenails. Think about Toad here, with no shoes, but toes and toenails. That's something for you to think about. And if you hate me now, I understand. Joke about how bad my feet actually smell sometimes. Oh, look, I avoided the piranha plant by going behind him. Do you have a towel that has Mickey Mouse or Toad with toenails? Kirby with toes? Mickey Mouse toes? Ew. That's so gross. Certain characters should, like, not have toes. Like, visible toes. Like, it should be in, like, sort of their character style guide is, like, never draw without shoes. Sonic is one of those characters. Mickey Mouse should be one of those characters. I think Mario should as well. I don't quite like the... Mario is in boxers in Mario Odyssey. And his toesies are out. That's just gross. Yoshi toes? Ugh. Well, Yoshi toes I feel would look exactly like his hands. Like the way his hands look. The weird sort of bulbous digits. Alright, Daisy Cruiser. We're doing the, Wolverine shredding up the cruise ship. Well, I think the benefit here is that I have not had any truly awful rankings in... I don't know what the Chain Chomp's path is here, so I don't want to get in front of it. I haven't had a truly awful rankings in the All Cups tour so far, so I think... Yeah, get out of here. I think we're good. If we can keep it up and hopefully get some more first places, I think we can come out on top, but if we don't manage to do that, we're in some serious trouble, because I don't really want to do this whole thing again. Imagine if you did this much driving practice IRL. Listen, I hate driving in real life. It's scary. I mean, it's often said, you know, well, driving's not scary, it's the other people on the road that are scary. And I don't think that's entirely true. I think that's partially true, because it's a lot of the social convention, and it's a learned thing. Like, you have to learn how to drive, not in terms of just the technicality of, like, learning how to drive the vehicle, but learning how to interact with other drivers on the road. Get out of here. So there's that. Haha. You silly stinker. Get out of here. But I think just the general scary part for me is, like, it's not just that, because it's like, I think I can deal with that. I think I can learn to deal with that. For me, it's like actually traveling at a high speed inside of what is essentially a death trap if you make a wrong move. Like, that's just petrifying to me. I won't learn how to drive. I feel like, though, like, maybe depending on where you live in the United Kingdom, I feel like the infrastructure is probably a little bit different there than the way it is here, because here it's like driving is basically like a mandatory thing. Like, you really got to. You gotta learn how to drive, you gotta have a car. Otherwise, you're not going anywhere. Because, like, the way our public transit systems are not necessarily built for that. They're, like, routine, everyday use. They're built for sort of quick rides. They're not built for, like, consistency. So, like, we don't have, at least where I live in, and I live in a city of 700,000 people, which is not like a whole lot, but it's still like a fairly substantial number of people. And our transit system is largely like short bus rides. And I mean, like, they've moved towards like trying to... Come on, I'm in second, dude. Trying to rectify that with the rapid transit system, but we don't have like subways or anything like that. And the only other alternative to that is like, oh, well, if you live in a smaller town, then everything is like closer together. But like, my city is fairly spread out. In that, you know, your normal like commute would probably take, like, to cross the city, probably take about an hour and a half to 2 hours by bus, about 45 minutes to an hour by car. So it's not like everything is really collected in one small space, which would make up for the fact that we don't have sort of the kind of transportation infrastructure here. So it's like, you gotta... You know, it's not like, say, the only other city I can really compare this to as being drastically different is like, New York is rather big. New York and the surrounding areas, rather, are rather big. But they have the subway system, like the whole New York metro system, to quickly get you from place to place. There's subway stations all over the place. And we don't have that here. And those things are built like, okay, well, nobody's gonna have a car here because it's, what are you doing? I'm in second. Is it because the other guy finished first already? Hours could possibly use for consistent uses, maybe to get from the top to the bottom of where it live takes half an hour by car. Oh. God, I liked highway driving? No, I hate it. Highway driving's the worst part. I will do city and suburb driving over highway driving. Don't ever make me do highway driving. I hate it. That's like probably up there with some of the scariest experiences of my life is having to do highway driving for like driving lessons. Like that was like awful. I hated it. I hated every minute of it. I did not use that mushroom to its maximum capacity. But, that's okay. All right. That's not okay. Bowser Jr.'s face all over this castle here. I think they made a point of saying that Bowser Jr. is Bowser's only child now, and that the Koopa kids are not his children, and that they're not even his relatives, which is very sort of weird. Because, like, that was the meta for the longest time, was, oh, well, it's Bowser and the Koopa kids. It was King Koopa and the Koopa kids. But that's not the case any longer. It's like the Koopa kids are like just like a completely unrelated party. And that's kind of strange. Because I kind of like the idea that he had like 7 kids. And I still like this idea that Bowser has 7 kids and he has taken over these 7 other kingdoms, like in Super Mario Brothers 3, he's taken over these 7 other kingdoms to bestow them upon his children because, like, the Koopas are like, they're an empire, they're like an imperialistic force. Which is not really talked about in, like, the mainline Mario games, but, like, that's clearly what you get, is that the Koopas are, like, they're an empire, they're imperialists. Their whole point is, like, their whole thing is to take over other kingdoms and occupy them, and that the Mushroom Kingdom is sort of like this, like, last sort of stronghold, I guess. Although sometimes the Mushroom Kingdom is used to refer to, like, the kingdoms collectively, and sometimes it's used to refer to, like sort of like the World 1 Kingdom, the Grassland. Sometimes it's a little different. I mean, Mario's not a place you look for canon, obviously. But Bowser Jr. hasn't really been in anything, like, substantial other than Smash since sort of the GameCube era. Oh, that's not true. He was in the new Super Mario Brothers games. He was. I believe. Like the DS ones? And of course you can use him in Mario Maker and stuff. I do like that in Smash they made his alternate skins just the other Koopa kids. Like, that's exactly what it should have been. I can't think of a better way to do that. Despite the fact that the Koopa kids aren't really, like, sort of relevant other than... Well, I guess they're in the new Super Mario Bros. Games as well. I feel like in Mario Odyssey, at some point during development, the how's I call them? The Rabbids. The Broodals is what they were called. The Broodals were probably the Koopa kids at some point in development, and then they decided we're gonna make them new characters. I know that they sort of have this philosophy with, like, the first party Nintendo games is, like, never do the same thing twice anymore. Is like, or at least they try to avoid doing that as much as possible, unless it's like, say, like, New Super Mario Bros. Is like maybe the exception. But even then, they always want to sort of do something different with that. But they've kind of relegated the, you know, we're gonna just repeat the same thing to that series. But if you're looking at, like, the main, like, Mario 3D games, they have a very sort of, like, every game is going to be a new gimmick. Every game is going to be its own sort of thing. It's going to have its own, like, characters, its own lore, and it's going to try to stand on its own. And I have a lot of admiration for that, but at the same time, there are occasions where it's like look at the Broodals are clearly just kind of stand-ins for the Koopa kids. They don't really have anything special about them, except for the fact that they're just stand-ins for the Koopa kids who are rabbits. So I feel like if they wanted to stress that point of like doing something different, then I think they really should have found a better thing to do with them, I guess. In like every main Mario platformer up until 3D Land. Mega Man's mostly stayed the same, Mario's all different. That's true. And I'm not like a Mega Man player. I have some of the Mega Man games, but I'm not a Mega Man player. And... yeah, like, well, I mean, there was that really, like, sort of brief period of time where Mega Man was really trying something different. Sort of, like, around... there was that Mega Man, like, Mega Man 64, and then, like, the Mega Man, like, was it Mega Man Legends games? Are, like, notably different. Like, during that era where they were trying to... like, everyone was trying to push their 2D platformers into the 3D realm. But, which is funny because 3D Realms developed Duke Nukem 3D after one of their 2D platformers. I don't know, but it's just a funny coincidence of my speech, but yeah. Sonic is just a mix of both. I'm not familiar enough with Sonic, I'll be honest. My exposure to Sonic is entirely through the, like, first-hand exposure to Sonic is entirely through the Sonic cartoons and their associated media. I've played like a little bit of like Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on Genesis, like, but that's the extent of it. And I've never played a 3D Sonic game. And there's no real particular reason why, I think. I just think, like, probably when you're a kid, you have sort of a very, very limited scope of like, okay, well, here's your birthday present for this year. It's gonna be this particular game, and more often than not, the ones that I ended up choosing were like the Kirby games or the Mario games, Donkey Kong, stuff like that. You know, the Nintendo stuff. And when it wasn't, it was stuff like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. So that ends up being sort of the handful of games. This kind of ties into what I was talking about earlier with like the Disney movies. Is like everybody sort of had their own particular handful of Disney movies. So I think everybody had their own particular handful of like GameCube games or Nintendo 64 games that they had. And so for me, it was largely like Kirby and Mario and Tony Hawk Pro Skater and Donkey Kong and so yeah, so there's like franchises like Mega Man that I kind of missed out on, Spyro I missed out on, Sonic, Crash Bandicoot, Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter. Lots of these games, and these are like, my friends had some of these games, but you know, by nature of them being first player experiences, like, they weren't stuff that we could really share the same way that we could share, like, say, Mario Kart, or Mario Party, right, or Super Smash Bros. Melee. Because those were like, okay, you go to your friend's house, you can play that with your friends. Rather than you go to your friend's house and you watch them play Jak and Daxter. Which is what I did like a couple times, and I can vaguely sort of remember Jak and Daxter, and I can vaguely sort of remember Ratchet and Clank for those details. You also missed out on Banjo-Kazooie? I did. Yep. I didn't play Banjo-Kazooie until I was probably about 16 years old. And that was weird because it's basically like, it is Donkey Kong 64. It's just like the one that the developers clearly put a lot more, I don't want to say a lot more work into or a lot more effort into, or even cared about more, but had more time and more resources to polish it in the way that Donkey Kong 64 could not be. Also, are we really on the last race already? Alright. What is the... We can't see it here, can we? I was gonna say, what is our current standing? I didn't even look at it at the end of the last race. I don't know if we can do well here. Banjo-Kazooie came out by before DK64. Yeah, but I was saying more like the Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, you can see with those games, like, they share the exact same DNA as Donkey Kong 64 does, because they run on the same engine, had sort of the same development staff on, but you can see that DK64 was like rushed in a lot of places, and since that was the only one of them that I grew up playing, and I came to appreciate that game, I was able to appreciate Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie so much more, because they are essentially what DK64 was to me, but more polished because they didn't have, like, some of the development problems that we now know about DK64. Like the memory leak issue with the expansion pack, like the Christmas 99 release date that they had to get it out by, and didn't really get a chance to fix a lot of the problems with the game. And fundamentally, there's just like a lot of things with DK64 that just kind of like suck. Like, as I've mentioned about the about all the bonus games you have to play and how repetitive they are, and I mean, Banjo-Tooie is very similar in that regard, but at least the mini games in that game are a little bit more thought out. You have the like the Mayan kickball thing. You got the flying segments with Kazooie. They like the flying through rings sort of games, and like they'll recur throughout the game, but they're not like, oh, we're playing Big Bug Bash for the 10th time in DK64. How far ahead is Bowser? A little bit. There he is. I should have grabbed that. Oh, did you see the control on that? That was amazing. But yeah, I definitely have a lot more appreciation for that. I want to... I don't know if I want to stream Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie first and then do ukulele. That feels like the appropriate way to do it. Just for like comparative sake, but I do want to stream ukulele. I've heard bad things about it, but I want to stream it. I want to see what it's like. I've seen a little bit of Let's Play footage of it, and that's about it. Also, we finished this. Look at that. "36 minutes, 51 seconds on that whole thing. Not bad, I think. Probably could be a lot better. But, you know. We ain't speedrunners here. You want a gold trophy, all cup tour, 150cc mirror mode has been unlocked. It's amazing because it's like, I did this like in 4 hours, but I remember as a kid it was like, okay, like an effort of over a week. Over several weeks to do this. Because it's like, oh, I was only ever allowed to play like 1 hour a day. Where are you going to spend your hour that day? Are you going to spend it on the computer? Are you going to spend it on the GameCube? Are you going to spend it on the PlayStation 2 or the Nintendo 64? Like, there's your choices. And that was all I was allowed. We still got... a couple folks to unlock here. And I want to get him. I know you have to play... What? Let me just check here. This is amazing, actually, because this site that I'm looking on here, let me just pop this over here. This has like the unlockable bonuses. It has Grand Slam Cup. Win Mushroom Flower Star and Special Cups at 150cc. This is not a real thing. This is not in the game. I think maybe they meant All Cup Tour, but this could also be one of those like, ooh, there's a secret special one that nobody knows about. You want to unlock God mode? Wait, only 1 hour? Feel sorry for you. Yeah, I was only ever allowed 1 hour on the computer or a video game system per day. That was how it was until I was in high school. That was the rule. Ooh. But I think, no, hold on. I had that window open for a reason, and that was winning stuff in mirror mode. Alright, do you think we can do this? We have some time, maybe? We're gonna try this. We're gonna try this. I wanna see. You don't have to beat All Cup Tour in mirror mode for anything, do you? I don't see anything on here for that. All the submissions. Alright, this is gonna mess me up. You could just play for however long you want until bedtime. Oh, it was very different for me. But when I went to like a friend's house, they were allowed to play video games whenever they wanted, basically. At least most of my friends were. And so that was weird. Also, this is definitely gonna mess me up. Because I just played all these courses like 3 times each. 4 times each. And now I'm doing them in reverse. Like, this is obviously why it's like this. Like, they did this on purpose to mess you up. But mirror mode is also at 150cc. It's just, how can we make it harder? You ever play the 200cc on Mario Kart 8? Like, that's nuts. Like, that on one of the F-Zero stages is just like, oof. Yeah, that's the point of mirror mode. Like you do for the parade car. Oh, no. Well, I ain't gonna have time for that, but I'll hopefully get through a couple, like maybe 1 or 2 of these cups here for the mirror mode. That's so weird that like they even mirrored like all the like the signs that Lakitu holds up, like, because it's not like they just flipped the video, because like the interfaces, well, I mean, maybe they did flip that and then they just flipped the controls, and maybe it's just like a post effect, and that these aren't actually like separate maps. Might be a post-processing effect. Oh, terrible. Awful. Well, I'll be off. It's 5:30. Is that what people say? They flipped the video? Okay. So they flipped the main video, they flipped the controls, and then they put the overlay on top. Rather than creating a whole set of new maps that are just the same, just flipped. I see. It's 5:30. Do people say that? I've never heard that before. But I guess 5:30. But if you are off to bed, thank you for dropping by, and thank you for sticking around for so long. And have yourself a good night. I might just only get through this one cup and then call it quits for the stream. Alright, yeah, this is definitely messing me up here. You're starting, look at Toadette's foot. When you're starting, normally it's the right, but now it's on the left. Also, you're, yeah, I don't know, that's weird. Mirror mode is weird. Video games are weird. Please don't touch me, cat of quack. It's weird also because this stage, like, it's structured very sort of symmetrically in that you start up on this high part, you go down, so it almost does feel like you're going through the stage a little bit backwards. Because the beach is sort of the same sort of crescent shape here. The beach itself is fairly symmetrical. But then when you get to this sort of this upper part, it feels a little different. It feels like you're going to the stage backwards rather than it being mirrored. Oh, come on! And yes, people say half 5. Yeah, regional differences, I ain't never heard of that before. Over here, it's like, you say 5, quarter after 5, 5:30, quarter to 6, 6 o'clock. That's how R tracks in Mario Kart Tour came to be. R for reverse. Oh, creeping up to second here. Can he do it? Baby Park is gonna be, like, mostly the same. You're just turning a different direction. This one's really gonna feel like you're going backwards. You can't get the boost. Oh, great. Lots of time to make up, though. Get 7 laps on this. I feel like they reduced the number of laps in Mario Kart 8 to 6. I might be lying. Hello? Why did that not count? Okay, this is exactly what I needed. Just what I needed! Remember in the Mario Kart Advance ports of, like, Mario 2, Mario 3, Mario World? They added all those, like, extra, like, Charles Martinet voice clips to Mario and Luigi. Just what I needed! Oh, no! A little bit weird. I don't know why they did that. Also, the fact that the Mario 2 port or remake is, like, substantially different compared to the other games in that series that are remakes. Not sure why that is either. Them attempting to fix Doki Doki Panic, like, posthumously. Oh no! Come on, come on, come on. Okay. Got lowered to 5 in Mario Kart DS. Oh, that's interesting. This one's gonna mess me up because it's like, I feel like Dry Desert is in my bones. I will one day figure out the exact frame you gotta press that on. Yeah, Dry Desert's like in my bones, so this is definitely gonna mess me up here. Even though this track is fairly symmetrical too. Yeah, just speed across the sand if at all possible. Hoagie. Actually, this isn't that bad. I thought this was gonna be, like, worse. I'm saying this like I've never played mirror mode before. But it's not the general thing, right? Oh, great. Alright. Press it when it goes green. Okay. Okay, I'll try that next time. Every time I've tried something like that, it's been pretty bogus. Mushrooms. Don't fall in the pit. If you're not aware, there is a piranha plant type thing in that pit, and it will gobble you up. I think it's very much influenced by the Star Wars Sarlacc pit. There's something from around this time period I have some nostalgia for. Some of that good old nostalgia. Star Wars Battlefront 2. It's my dry bones. Yeah, Star Wars Battlefront and Battlefront 2. Although Battlefront 2 more than Battlefront 1. Because that became the multiplayer standard in Battlefront 2. Apparently Star Wars Battlefront 3, like an actual, like, proper Battlefront 3, from the time period, was, like, completed and then canned. That might be just a rumor, but apparently that was the case. I read it on the internet, so it must be true. Come on. This ain't good. This ain't good. Oh well. Hello, Rumman15. A little bit, getting a little bit late here. Lego Star Wars is where it's at. I never played Lego Star Wars. I think I had it at one point. No, I had Lego Indiana Jones because it came bundled with my Xbox. But I've never played Lego Star Wars. Silver. That's not good enough. We're gonna do something. Home Alone on a Friday night. Just remember this, ape. Hold on. That's it. All right. No, not 150cc. We are doing mirror mode. Let's do Star Cup. Anyway, you gotta has a playable gonk droid. Anyway, sleep needing to. Anyway, sleep needing to. That didn't work. Mostly probably because I flubbed it up and I didn't know what I was doing. But no, I wanted to see. You press it when it's green. Anyway, yeah, have a good night. Thank you for dropping by. No. Maybe I had a little bit of a false start there. Anyway, we're gonna get through this cup and hopefully not make silver. Silver and gold. You remember? And listen, this is me talking about this because I did see the Quentin Reviews video about like the Rankin Bass like Christmas movies. And oof. And I remember like the Silver and Gold song, and I remember what that melody reminds me of. The Grape Garden music in Kirby's Adventure. Very similar melody. I don't have any nostalgia for that film or any of those collection of films because it's like I didn't really watch them. That Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie, like, it scared me because of the Abominable Snowman, and so I never wanted to watch it. I had a different tape of it, like an animated Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie, like a 2D hand-animated one, and I don't know what that one was, but gosh, I should probably go find the tape, and it's probably on YouTube somewhere if I can find the name of the tape. I'll check if you got gold when I wake up. I probably don't. Probably won't. Second place. Here's the thing is, like, when you're playing, like, it's like I have everything set up here. It's like I don't want to really take it down and put it away. So it's like motivation to keep playing keep playing Mario Kart Double Dash. This might be like the longest I've ever sat and played this game for any one period of time. Nope. Did not work. Because, I mean, like, generally at this point, with the friends that I had back in, like, elementary and middle school, it'd be like, at this point, it'd be like, let's play something else. Let's play Smash. Although, nobody said, let's play Smash back then. It was Super Smash Brothers. It was, actually, you would say, let's play Melee. Which I guess is what the Melee community still calls it. They still say, we play Melee. But that's because they want to differentiate it between the two, between like the 5 different Smash games, right? Whereas at the time, for us, it was only 2. So it was like, of course, you wouldn't say Smash and then you mean 64, right? But you'd say Melee. And nobody said Melee correctly. They always said Melee. So I guess nobody really ran into that word often. Although maybe they did. I feel like they would have, because I feel like maybe that word's probably used in like specific types of like pro wrestling. And I had a lot of friends who were into pro wrestling. I was never allowed to watch it, so as a consequence, I never really got into it. I feel like I would not be interested in it now. I feel like that's something you probably gotta grow up with. And I think like a lot of those people, like they ended up, they either went two ways. They abandoned the whole pro wrestling thing, never really thought about it again, didn't really care about it after, you know, being like 13 years old. Or they were like, okay, no, well, pro wrestling's fake. I gotta start watching like UFC or like boxing. I almost feel like boxing is like people would consider that on like a higher tier than say like UFC, even if, you know, UFC is like probably more brutal. Well, probably. I mean, it's probably relative, but you know, you got that. But I feel like maybe people view boxing as like more professional almost, less showy. Even though it really is. But more well-respected, I guess, is the phrase I'm looking for. So I don't know. But yeah, I know wrestlers through pop cultural osmosis. You know, I know who Stone Cold Steve Austin is. I know Hulk Hogan. I know, obviously, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, you know. What are you doing, Wario? Like, what, like, honestly, what happened there? And I, you know, like, I know who some of these people are. I know a pro wrestler when I see him, but please don't ask me to actually, like, name any or, like, name any like important events in like pro wrestling history, like WWF/WWE especially. No idea. Jesus. Pummeled down to 8th place. These guys are ruthless. I don't even think like I'm generally steering pretty badly in this. I mean, like, overall, probably in comparison to like a speedrunner, but I don't think that, oh, it really is. I think it's just the items. But I guess then you could also make the counter argument that, well, part of being good at Mario Kart is learning how to avoid the drop. This guy's still here! He's broken. Possibly? It still says that he's on, like, the map here. Oh, that was, like, horrible noise. Okay, so he's with Diddy Kong. So Diddy Kong is the one on the... Wow, like, I can't believe I'm in 8th place. This is, like, pathetic. you know, this game used to feel like so expansive, like there was so many tracks in it, but really there aren't that many. How did this happen? Remember in Mario Kart 64 how if you didn't make the top 3, like it would immediately just end your race and say, oh, too bad. You gotta start again, loser. I hated that. It was just like, just let me finish the race. Oh my god. Oh my god. That was awful. It's impossible to make it now. Oh no, I'm still in second. But I only got this one course left, so it's like literally impossible. I could get a silver. Oh my god. It's like the first 30 seconds of any given track on like this level of difficulty is like chaos. It's like, you remember in, what did they call it in, I don't know why I thought of this, what did they call it in the Hunger Games, like the scramble? I guess it's probably maybe like a general like sports like game term. It was probably like, but I don't know why I thought about like the Hunger Games there. I haven't thought about the Hunger Games in like in any legitimate capacity for like years, other than sort of like offhandedly mentioning it. Wow, I'm doing great. I'm sticking this one out though, just because it is the last track here, and then I want to end on a high note, so it's like I kind of want to just actually like win one. But, you know, I don't know. I never actually saw the last Hunger Games movie, like Mockingjay Part 2. Also, I'm glad. Can I just say I'm glad that this trend is over. The one that was like 5 years ago, where it's like we gotta split everything into 2 movies. The last movie that like major movie that really did it was Infinity War and Endgame. Because Endgame was originally titled Infinity War Part 2, but I guess maybe their marketing department realized, hey, that's not really trendy anymore. We can't do the Part 1, Part 2, so let's just name it something else. And so the last movie to really do it was probably like The Hunger Games or like The Hobbit before that. But like, I'm glad we're not doing that anymore. I'm so tired of it. I was so tired of it. I think at this point we all just kind of realize, oh, you know what? I totally lied. I lied 100% because It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 came out this year. You know what? I lied and I was wrong 100%, and I can't believe that, considering that was the last movie I saw in theaters, I think. 100% wrong. Lying through my teeth here. I guess the point is they don't do it as often. I'm still correct on that. I still think 4th is okay. It's the middle. Big banana, yeah. We're 2nd. We get the silver. So at least we do get a trophy. So that's good. But then, like, man, I think It had a reason enough, though, is because, like, Part 2, the way that they split it up is that, like, Part 2, the way the book is written is that those 2 parts are sort of weaved together. But, no, you know what? We're doing this in this Koopa Kart. Is that, like, the narrative is sort of interwoven in the book, but in the movie they split it up into 2 parts and basically made it like movie 1 and movie 2, like movie 1 plus a sequel, right? The first movie is a complete film. The second movie is kind of a complete film. But the in the way that like a sequel is. I think about it kind of like like how Hellraiser 2 is like, it's a sequel. It's a very horror sequel thing, and It Chapter 2 is like a very horror sequel. And not so much like this is part 2 of a book split down the middle. So it's a little bit different. I think it's because we did see like the excess of like the Hobbit movies, and those Hobbit movies are like, I want to watch them again because I didn't think that they were that bad. And like, quite honestly, like, yes, they are like in the spirit of excess in the same way that, say, the Star Wars prequels are. But they are competently made movies for the most part. It's just that they are too overloaded with stuff. And I think all the we're not turning this way this time. All the production problems on that film project are very sort of apparent and well documented now. But it wasn't the case, at the time, and people were just kind of like, well, what happened with these films? I was expecting Lord of the Rings Part 2, Part 0.5, and I think that's part of the problem, is that The Hobbit is fundamentally a different story than Lord of the Rings. And I get why they were trying to, like, sort of patch it over and try to, like, make it sort of seamless, because Tolkien himself did that. Is that the first edition of The Hobbit was different than the later edition that he revised after Lord of the Rings, because he really wanted to sort of connect them a little bit more, and make sure that the canon made sense. And I haven't actually been able to, like, I wouldn't be able to tell you what the specific differences were, but I do know that they largely are about Gollum and the Ring, and that that's different than the original release of the book, and definitely different from the version that Tolkien initially, I did it again, initially intended. So in a way, it's almost like sort of like the George Lucas with the original trilogy situation, except I guess The Lord of the Rings is seen as like sort of a highly regarded work, as opposed to what George Lucas did, where it's like, okay, well, we got to sort of bridge it with the prequels, which those are not highly regarded works, so it's a little bit different. But I think there are a lot of parallels between The Lord of the Rings and like the film series, the Middle-earth film series, and Star Wars. I do think that occupying a very similar cultural niche is the Hobbit films, like the Hobbit prequels. The Hobbit prequels, the Lord of the Rings prequels is what they basically are, rather than an adaptation of The Hobbit. And those occupy a very similar niche as, say, the Star Wars prequels do in our sort of a little bit further down along the line, like 15 years later sort of generation. But I don't think that they're as bad of films as, say, the Star Wars prequels are. I think the correct comparison for that is the Michael Bay Transformers movies. And I take that entirely from, there was one review I saw of, I think it was Transformers Dark of the Moon, where they were like, this generation finally has its Star Wars prequels. And, I think about that, I'm like, that's, like, pretty much entirely true. With regards to how bloated they are. Because, like, the Hobbit movies are, like, they're bloated the same way that the Transformers movies are bloated, but they're not... The end product isn't, like, total, unequivocal trash the way that the Transformers movies are. And I would say the prequels are mostly, like, total trash. Like, I think Revenge of the Sith is, like, barely sort of a passable movie. Attack of the Clones is, like, embarrassingly bad. Like, I don't know, like, we make fun of Attack of the Clones, but I don't know why we don't talk about it in the same breath that we speak of, like, The Last Airbender, because it's that level. It is that level of terrible. And I certainly believe that. And I don't even think The Last Airbender is as bad as people say. I do believe it is a bad film. It's a bad adaptation, but I do think that there are things that that movie got right. I don't think there's anything that Attack of the Clones got. I don't want to say right, really, because it's not really an adaptation of anything. It's a movie set in the universe of other movies, but it's not like everything about that, like the writing, the acting, the general direction, the cinematography is just like it falls flat on its. The fight choreography falls flat on its face because it is so overwhelmed by excess. And the Transformers Michael Bay movies are the exact same way, and there's 5 of them. I was actually talking to my dad the other day. By the other day, I mean last night, about how, like, because he's seen those movies, the Transformers movies, and he didn't like them either. But I asked him what he thought of Bumblebee. He was like, hey, yeah, that one was actually pretty good. And I was like, yeah, like, I'm surprised, like, it took them 6 movies to get it right. And, you know, there's certain little things about Bumblebee that I'm like, well, maybe it could have been worked a little bit better. I think the John Cena thing, I think that's a little bit too corny. But I did like how there was, like, a genuine heart to the movie. And the Michael Bay movies are just so cynical. Like, that's almost like sort of a unique style to them, and there's a lot of stuff to be said about those films, and I think like people like Lindsay Ellis have covered them in like great detail, especially in regards to the particular, like, almost unique sort of cynical sense of humor that they have. But I almost turned the other way too, which is like mirror mode screwing me up. But like those movies, like they hate their audience. They have such disdain for their own characters. And it was nice to see a Transformers movie that is like, okay, well, it takes the stuff that does sort of work about the Michael Bay Transformers movies, and that's not that much, and that's all it really keeps. Like, it keeps the Bumblebee design. It keeps sort of the overall realistic aesthetic. But namely in the Transformers designs themselves, they updated them to look like, and I don't want to be like, oh, well, look, they finally brought them back to what they look like in G1, because, like, I'm not a Transformers fan. You know, not to any more degree than it's like, okay, well, like, I have, like, a casual knowledge of them and casual enjoyment of them, and, like, yes, I can watch Transformers media, and I'm fine with it. I don't actively despise it, but it's not the same as, like, actually liking something. But I do have friends who are very into Transformers, and one of the friends that I have who's probably the most into Transformers, I had seen Bumblebee, and I had asked him if he'd seen it yet, and he said no, because he'd kind of been very disillusioned with the Michael Bay films, and I think he's seen it eventually. I think he did like it, but ultimately, I think it's just like the legacy of those Michael Bay movies as being of a very particular brand of bad, a very particular brand of, like, insufferable and cynical, that in that sense, if we're moving away from the Transformers Star Wars comparison, I think the movies that greatly embody that to the closest extent now are the DCEU movies. Because Batman v Superman is very similar in how cynical it is, except it's not trying to be funny. Like, that movie, it's hateful towards its characters. It's kind of surprising. So, I don't know. I think that's interesting. How am I doing better now than I did now that I'm talking about, like, Star Wars and Transformers and all these big... If they were a vehicle, they'd be, like, massively gas-guzzling sort of monster trucks of franchises. But this brings it back around to the Star Wars sequel trilogy, where it's like, they are pretty good. And even like the standard movies now, like as much as like I'm like, oh my god, not another freaking Star Wars movie, I'm still like, you know, it gets close to coming out, I'm like, yeah, you know, I could go for a Star Wars. It's been a while since I last saw Star Wars. I could go for a Star Wars. I don't like the fact that these movies are like so freaking expensive to make and such a big cultural deal, necessarily, because I think that ultimately stifles sort of the creativity that can go into it, and prevents people from taking risks, because when that happens, you know, you end up with like the feedback to The Last Jedi, and really, I don't think. I'm trying to find the way to express this. Is like I like Star Wars. I like the universe. I like the story, not in like sort of like a hipster way. But I think of very sort of contained, sort of fairly wholesome stories that are family entertainment, and it's like Star Wars, like that's like right there, and I would like I feel about it very similarly to the way I feel about like Avatar: The Last Airbender, in that it is a very sort of compact little story there, told in 3 major parts. They have a very similar cast structure, obviously. Like Avatar: The Last Airbender takes a lot of inspiration from Star Wars, and Star Wars in turn takes a lot of inspiration from like the main thing is that it's inspired by like 50s science fiction serials, and that's the whole thing. Companion piece between that and Indiana Jones being based on the adventure serials of that time, of the 50s. They came before it. We don't really have sort of we don't really have sort of the equivalent for like the way it's cycled with Star Wars, but that's not true because the Marvel Cinematic Universe is very similar now. Guardians of the Galaxy, like the first Guardians of the Galaxy, I have trouble watching that now just because I think it's a little bit too jokey, but it's a fairly good imitation of a Star Wars movie, I think. I think the 2009 Star Trek movie, the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie, I think that's a fairly good imitation of a Star Wars movie at times. Makes sense why they got Abrams to do that, to do the Star Wars movies, or like 2 of them anyway. But I don't know, like, it's like I want to see these Star Wars movies when they come out, but I think that they are, like, they spend too much money on them. They make, like, people make too big of a deal out of them. I think they could be great if they were, like, these sort of, like, nice, sort of quaint little movies at the time, but of course they've never been like that. Like, because, like, the second that first film came out, it was huge. But even then, going back to those movies, like, those movies as, in and of themselves, as films, are fairly small and quaint. And these new ones, they just like, oh, it's just huge, just action set pieces everywhere. Although I will admit, they have reined them in a little bit. I mean, putting aside like the Starkiller base, like destroying like an entire like solar system, like that sort of like excess there. But they've reined them in just the general filmmaking. Because you see, like, emblematic in, like, the lightsaber fight sequences, they have weight to them now, kind of the same way that they did in sort of, like Return of the Jedi. Not necessarily the first Star Wars movies, they didn't really know what they were doing there, and the lightsaber props, they were kind of scared of breaking them, so they were very light with them. But in the later movies, they all kind of became just sticks, and they would fill it in post. But in that first Star Wars movie, they're only just kind of colored in post, I think. What they actually have is they have these sort of rotating light rods, and that's why in that first Star Wars film you don't really see like them pressing the button on the lightsaber and then the blade coming out. It's always like they press it and then it's there because they swap it out between shots. You got the boo pipes. The boopets? That's not what I remember them looking like. Oh, hold on. No, that's the piranha pipes versus the boo pipes, right? Because the boo pipes are gray and the piranha pipes are green. I should really play with different characters, but these are... Oh, wait, am I on the right mode? I was like, probably not. No, why am I on 50? No, I thought we were doing green Koopa car. That was our lucky one. So we did this. We'll do Flower Cup. We haven't played this one yet. On this difficulty. Well, let's get some track or ram. Track or ram. As for the spin-off Star Wars, everyone's talking about the Mandalorian right now, and I can't bring myself to watch it, because when I say I could go for a Star Wars right now, I don't mean a television show, you know? I want a Star Wars to be a complete adventure, start to finish, not a serialized, I mean, like, yes, they're inherently serialized because the whole thing is called episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I get that they're inherently serialized, but, like, I don't want to sit there and watch and then have to come back each week to watch a new thing, you know? Because the way the movies are structured is, like, it's sort of a complete movie each time because they only come out once a year at this point, which is more frequently than they've ever come out before, so... It's, you know, it's different. I don't really have any interest in seeing The Mandalorian, but for the spin-off movies, like, I quite liked Rogue One. I think there are some sort of glaring issues with it. I think, namely, that Jyn Erso, as a protagonist, is not a particularly active protagonist. But I think the same can be said about a lot of movies. I mean, Luke Skywalker himself is not a particularly active protagonist to begin with. And I mean, you can say sort of a similar thing about Rey in the new movies. So I don't think it's particularly. I think people are like very, very harsh on like Rey and Jyn Erso for those problems because they're women, and I think people are more likely to be biased against that as opposed to like whether they want to admit it or not. As opposed to like Luke Skywalker, who's like quite honestly fairly useless, and most of his development takes place off screen, which is kind of weird when you think about it. I mean, the first Star Wars movie is very much a hero's journey story, obviously. And by the end of it, it's like, okay, yes, he's kind of grown into this sort of, not quite reluctant hero, because he does want to do good. He's just not supplied the means how until he finally does, and then it's really, at the end of it, you know, it's like he's part of a team, you know, the rebels themselves. And he's sort of content with being part of a team that's taking on the Empire, but then when it kind of comes down to like, no, this really is about you specifically, that almost seems like it's a responsibility he's kind of forced to take on. Like it's something that happens to him. He doesn't really choose it because it happens to him. And then by the next movie, by Empire, it's like, oh, well, he's, you know, he's a little bit different now, but most of that happened off screen. You know, he's kind of taken on that role as like, okay, well, no, this is really about you now. And then there's like a large sort of jump that happens between Empire and Return of the Jedi, where he's suddenly like, he's this adept Jedi master, basically. He's almost like a very wise person, even though it doesn't even take place that long after the other movies. And I get what they're trying to do is like, they decided, okay, well, this is the arc that we want Luke to have. He goes from farm boy to sort of reluctant hero to hero as part of a team to soul hero to wise sage. And that's sort of his arc, but a lot of that happens between the movies where we don't really see it. And so it doesn't really pick up where it left off. And that's what I always kind of found kind of jarring about those movies, the Star Wars movies. And that's one of my, like, the things that kind of bug me a little bit about them, is that they don't really pick up where the last ones left off with the characters so much. I mean, with Luke specifically. I mean, obviously, like, Han and Leia get a lot less development because they are sort of more secondary characters. But it really... Their development, because they get less development, feels a little bit more consistent, because they more or less feel like they always lead to the next movie in the same place that they start in the next movie. But I don't know, that's more or less just my thoughts there. I'm not like a Star Wars like geek. I'm not a Star Wars snob or anything. As delicately as you can put that. I can talk about Star Wars on end for like hours, like as I kind of have done, as I keep coming back to Star Wars, because the new one's coming out and I want to see the new one. But ultimately, it's like, you ask me about like how like some Star Wars super fans are with the series, asking me questions about like Star Wars Legends stuff and all sort of the spin-off material. It's like, I really only know the movies and like a couple of the video games. But you know, huge merchandising thing. There's tons of like paperback novels that are no longer canon, comic books. You know, there's cartoons. I've never watched any of the cartoons. And I'm counting like the 3D animated Clone Wars and the Star Wars Rebels as cartoons as well. So like I've never watched it. I ain't even ever seen the Star Wars Holiday Special. So it's more of stuff that it's like I'm aware of it, but I'm not directly involved in it. Whereas the actual movies themselves, I've seen like countless times, honestly. As like I think most like people who are like around my age or even older or even younger, right? Like it's like a thing about like American pop culture. Like everyone knows Star Wars. Everyone's seen those movies multiple times. You know, you had the VHSs or the DVDs, and parents put those on, and that's your afternoon babysitting, right? You have the DVDs in your house, and you're like, hey, you want to watch a movie as a family after dinner? And you sit down and you watch Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi or one of the prequels. The Star Wars movie I've seen the least is Solo, because I only ever saw it once. Followed up by The Last Jedi, or should I say tied with The Last Jedi, because I only saw that once. Next being The Force Awakens, which I saw 3 times. Not in theaters, but I have seen the film 3 times. And Rogue One, which I've also seen 3 times, I believe. After that, who knows, for the prequels and the original trilogy, like, just... I've seen them a number of times because of the aforementioned babysitter effect. The television is your babysitter, the movie, the DVD is your babysitter, the VCR is your babysitter, and you will watch this stuff so that you stop terrorizing your siblings because you have used up all your video game time today. mean, like, I do quite like the newer Star Wars movies, and I need to rewatch them, and I'm gonna tell myself I gotta rewatch them before I watch the new one, just to refresh myself on where we're at with this new storyline, with the sequel trilogy storyline, that is. I mean, it'll be fun, I'm sure. I always have fun watching a Star Wars movie. Usually, you know, even the prequels. Is like I think those are, you can still have some fun watching those. And I realize it sounds so weird for me to be critical of the prequels, despite the fact that I grew up with them. But I think there is just something that's just sort of like inherently not very good about them. In their excess, in their sort of misguided storytelling. I really thought I was gonna hit the fireballs there. Jesus. How do we do? I'm the wiener, as they say. Let's go to the awards ceremony. Wow, we're getting up on 5 hours here. Okay, can I do this? I want to see. Okay, so I'm gonna give this like one last attempt here. Tilt-a-Kart on the battle mode stage. I haven't seen that in a long time. What do I have to do to unlock my pals? I think it's the one that I haven't done. And that is Star Cup in mirror mode. So we're gonna give this one last try to unlock the boys. And if I can't do it, then you know, that's that. I guess like the magic thing is like, don't focus on the game too much. Just talk about something else. So we're not gonna talk about Star Wars. We're gonna talk about maybe like Star Trek. Star Trek. We can talk about those movies. Into Darkness is not good. But listen, I feel like Star Trek has had more room for like bad movies compared to Star Wars, because Star Wars has had like 3 like explicitly bad movies. Star Trek has had like probably more than that, like a higher percentage of movies that are not particularly fondly remembered. I would like to keep in mind that I have not seen all the Star Trek films, but the other thing is that the Star Trek films are in canon with the television show, and so they're kind of some of it is sort of concurrent with the television show, some of it is like many years after the television show or the particular series, and you got multiple different series you're talking about. Although only 2 of them ever got actual movies. But those movies came out while other series were running, so it's, I don't know, it's kind of weird. The Star Trek movies are movies, I feel, in the sense that like an OVA is to like an anime series. In that it's like you will not be able to watch this generally unless you are familiar with the series. Oh, come on. So the Star Trek movies I have seen are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I haven't seen 6. And then of the Next Generation films, I've seen First Contact, I've seen... I have seen Insurrection once. I remember that one being really boring. I've seen parts of Star Trek Nemesis, and I've seen parts of Star Trek Generations. and that's about it. And then the Kelvin Timeline films, I've seen all 3 of them. Yeah, get bent. that's rude. Get bent, Bowser. But yeah, I don't know. So I feel like you do have to have like an extra level of context behind the Star Trek movies. There are like, okay, you can watch Star Trek 2, you can watch Wrath of Khan, and you can watch Search for Spock back to back, and you don't really need context for who the characters are, because I think that those films, like at least as far as I remember them, do a fairly good job at sort of establishing the characters in the world. So that you don't necessarily need the TV show, you just need sort of like a cultural osmosis education of what Star Trek is, and then you're probably pretty good. You'll be able to watch them. I mean, that's how I watched them. I never saw an episode of the original series until probably after I saw those movies. And I mean, like, I still haven't seen all too many episodes of the original series, all things considered. Not that I have a problem with it necessarily, it's just like there's quite a bit. Episodes are an hour long. It's a time investment, you know? I think I've seen more of Next Generation, and I think I've seen more of probably passing episodes of Deep Space Nine and Voyager than I have with any of the other Star Trek series. Hello, Star Mario. Oh my god, no, you are not. Bowser. Oh my god. I said I was giving this one last try, so make it count, I guess. If we get first in the next couple tracks, then we'll be good. But we won't. We could, but we won't. I hate this because it's like, I don't want the stream to end. I'm having fun playing this. I'm having fun streaming, but it is also past midnight. I do work tomorrow. Although admittedly, do you do speedrun? I do not do speedruns. I just play the game. I kind of want to learn speedrunning stuff. Not for Mario Kart. But I would like to maybe learn. I think DK64 speedrunning would be a good fit. If I were to pick a game to speedrun, I think DK64 would be the one. Because I'm already fairly familiar with a lot of the tricks in it, and glitches in the game just by nature of having played the game so much as a kid. Wario just gets stuck on that fence there every time, doesn't he? Waluigi time. But also that game's speedrun is pretty long. Even like the any percent is like, you have to reserve an extra like mandatory like 15-20 minutes for the K. Rool fight, or however long that actually takes when you speedrun it. I think it's more like 10. With the cutscenes and everything, it's probably like 10 to 15 mandatory. And that's basically what you do for, I mean, like for any percent speedruns in general, you kind of like skip to the end boss. Oh my god. DK64 is a very interesting game to watch. Speedran. If you're gonna watch a speedrun of the game, go watch the speedrun of DK64. It's very interesting the way that they utilize the various glitches in the game, and this is going terribly. Oh my gosh. No, I did say I was just gonna take it Oh, hey Rob, DK64 has the wackiest tricks. It'd be really cool to speedrun. I mean, like every time I see it at HDQ, like I always watch it. Like maybe not live. I think I've only watched it live once, but I always watch the what do you call it? Why am I on 2 players? What am I doing? I always watch the VODs. Do you play on the Wii or GameCube? For this game, I am playing on the Wii. Because that's what I had at my disposal. I'm just starting this over because I knew I wasn't doing very well. I think of like some of the tricks in DK64 are very hard to get down, and I mean, like if you want to see it, I do have a 101% playthrough of DK64 on my YouTube channel, and I had a lot of fun doing that, but I can't see myself like streaming that ever again, like at least not in the near future, just because it was so long, and there were little things about the game that I was still learning, like you don't have to jump in the Crystal Caves beetle race. In fact, if you jump, you're... Oh my god. Every bit of speed I had, I have lost. You know, like in fact, if you jump in that section of the game, like you're doing yourself a disservice because you're going to, most likely, if you hit the jump button while you are intending to jump, and you jump at a place that it will let you jump, you will not make it across the gap. You know, shoutouts to things, finding out things much later in life. Still learning. But I do try some of the different tricks in there, and I show off a couple of the glitches, like how to walk out of bounds in a whole lot of different places. Oh my god, this like just straight up sucks. No, I will not allow that. I want to do that again. Double dash is a good one. It's like you swim in a wall, press B, and you go through the wall. Yeah. The C up clip through. I think the polygons have to be facing a certain like orientation on the map in order to do that, but there's like a quarter of the walls in the game you can just like swim through. Basically any ledge you can clip through. It's just that some are more precise than others. Because all the seams in between the polygons are pretty weak in the game, in the environments. So if you can stop your Kong like dead in their tracks while their hitbox is right over top of the seam, you'll fall like straight through. Oh my god, are you for real? I'm restarting this like every time. All I want to do is boom boom and cash register noise and take it. Like, listen, I screwed up my own joke by stammering, so I deserve that. Remember that song? What was it called? Airplanes? I'm trying to remember how it goes. I can hear it kind of vaguely in my head. I don't know the words, but I can hear like the melody. I remember that song was popular for summer, as songs are wont to do. Summer songs, you know. We all know the summer songs, right? There's always like a summer song. Oh wow, I was like, can I really avoid this if I steer hard into it? Like the wow. Epic. How did I pop up into second at that point? I'm only in fourth. I was only in third, and then now I'm only in fourth. Don't do it, baby Luigi. Little green gremlin man, you. I'm not satisfied. I'm not satisfied by Fine Young Cannibals. Which, for the life of me, I can't remember how that song goes, either. I think of Fine Young Cannibals, and the only song that pops in my mind is She Drives Me Crazy, which is not the same as the Britney Spears song that's like that. You Drive Me Crazy? No, not the same. If you ever listen to She Drives Me Crazy by Fine Young Cannibals, I think like it's the songs on that particular album too. Like I'm not a connoisseur of this, but I think it's just like the overall production of the album. Like they have this like snare drum that's like poof, poof. It sounds like somebody hitting it inside of a tube. It's so weird sounding. I just remember like hearing that. Oh my god, you seen this cluster? Just constant crap just flying at me. I just remember hearing like the song on the radio and like just hearing like the sort of sound of the snare, and it was just so weird. I've seen this intro to Sherbetland like 20 times in the last 5 minutes. I don't care. Yeah, there's a good strategy. Drop back. Yeah, that was 100% intentional too. Drop back until you get in such a place where the star is inevitable. Then use the star for first place. Now, no Bowser shells. No green shells. No green shells. Big money, no whammies. Oh my god. Are you for... Like, constantly, like every time. And then this Bowser shell... It's like they've seen my future. They know how this is going to go. I'm concentrating too hard on the game again. This is like what happens in Doom, where it's like if I concentrate on the game, I get killed. If I don't concentrate on the game, talk about Donkey Kong 64 and Star Wars, and Star Trek and Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, and the benefits of each of them. That's when good things happen. Don't... Oh, I was really hoping... I'm glad I didn't get blown up in the air, though. Like, that would have been, like, dreadful. But... Oh my gosh. I tried to hold the banana out behind me, but my finger slipped off of the X button. And it's, As a result, I messed it up. Oh my god! Now that's a load of McClunky. I'm gonna get third in this race. I'm gonna get third in this race. That's not acceptable. I'm sorry. That's not acceptable. I'm sorry that this has all kind of come to a grinding halt because it's like I really just want to get Star Cup done. But, like, for real. Listen, I'm not doing all cups tour on mirror mode here. Okay, I didn't get the boost. That's okay. For now. I did get schmucked by a Shy Guy. That's okay for now. This star is perhaps the one thing. Oh, and I got some... So it's kind of like a straight shot from here through here. Oh, come on! Pushes me in the other direction. It's like, you mess up, you're like guaranteed to drop like one place. Beyond that, it's like you have to really screw up. But if you do end up dropping behind like that many places, like you definitely really screwed up. And the thing is, it's like it doesn't really matter. Come on. It doesn't really matter how well you do on the rest of the course. It's like, can you blow your way in front of the rest of them, in front of the rest of the competition, at the finish line. Like, that's literally all that matters. Although it's a little bit better here than it is in some racing games. Like Kirby Air Ride is like really bad for that, where it's like, well, if you don't, you know, it comes down to that. It's like the rest of the race really doesn't matter. It's like as long as you can pull ahead at the very last second. And so the rest of the race kind of becomes kind of tedious. But there, we got the result I wanted. Now let's get 8th place in all the other ones. Mushroom City. I've been playing this game for 5 hours. We will do this, though. I'm dedicated to playing Mario Kart Double Dash. And if you've watched this far for some reason, first of all, you're welcome. Second of all, I'm here all week. Not true. Well, perhaps. Today is the last day of the week, so, depending on how you look at it. You know, my old job, the schedules, they started on... Like, the schedules, the way that they were laid out, started on the Monday. And the new job I'm at, they start on the Sunday. Like the way like a calendar is, right? But like that's messed me up so many times because I look at the schedule and it's like, okay, well, judging by how many slots it is over from like the left, I can guess which day it is without actually having to trace my finger all the way up to the top of the spreadsheet. And so I've gotten the day wrong on a couple occasions. Never actually enough to screw up and totally miss a shift or not or be late for it because I read it as the wrong day. Haven't done that yet. Hoping I won't. But it has messed me up a couple times. Because which day of the week starts on is dependent on who you're working for. I don't know which way is faster here, or if any way is faster. Like, of these little corridors that you can go on to, these little detours in this stage. I think I'm getting a better feel for the stage here. It's like... in mirror mode, that is. That's called failing upward, dude. That's right. That's right. Number 1, are you kidding me? Who do you think you are? I am. I think also part of the reason why I'm not particularly tired right now is because as I drank a can of Coca-Cola after drinking a Pepsi, so, you know, that's good. All that extra caffeine. Welcome to Isoy. Sorry, I can't say circuit backwards. Not because it's like a curse or something, it's just like I can't parse that in my head right now. Remember when... Oh man, I remember when I was first starting to like come up with my own little stories, I thought it was so wacky. It's like, oh, I'm gonna have a villain, and if you spell his name backwards, it's gonna be something scary, and that'll really make audiences go, oh, right? And now I'm thinking like, Arbok backwards is Cobra. Like, you know, it's not clever. Who is this Mr. Alucard? This track is chaos, like, for real. No. You see, I am avoiding all of these traps, all of your tricks, and I will come out victorious. Oh. I hope. Oh my gosh! Don't touch me, Piranha Plant. It's just like these two, they're constantly bickering. Just get out of the way. I've got a race to win, guys. Ribbaroon. I really, like, I honestly cannot pass by that sign in this game without thinking of the Ribbaroon story that I relayed earlier. Oh my, for real? Okay, so the gold mushroom is like a free pass for a very, very brief period of time. It's second best to the star. Okay, I think I'm good here. Not for winning, but for pulling ahead at least. Yeah, that's fine. Second is fine. Second is fine. I think I can work with that. Because essentially it's like I just have to win the next race. Which I won't. If I can get second, maybe. I don't know. It depends on who comes in first. And usually that's actually pre-decided, I think. Like, who actually comes in first, because one is, like, predetermined to be your quote-unquote rival. And they will more often than not come in first. If you do not. I think that's how it works, but we'll see. I mean, like, different flukes can happen. You end up going so fast that it's hard to control. Oh god! Mistake of the century. Oh my gosh, I didn't even lose a place there. Oh my gosh, the reverberations really knocked me off of the bridge. You know, there's a suspension bridge in a town called Souris. Not really nearby, but it's, you know, in the province. And they apparently replaced it, but it was knocked down, I believe, in floods. But it's like the longest suspension bridge in Canada or something like that. I walked about a quarter of the way across it, and it was terrifying, so I don't recommend it. There's also there's a footbridge made out of an old railway bridge near my work, and I know, like my sister used to walk across it all the time to get back from a friend's house, and it's like I don't know how you would do that, like walking across an old railway bridge that's been retrofitted as just like a pedestrian bridge. Like I could not do that. That's terrifying. Just walking across and seeing the slats underneath, like the spaces in the slats below you, and that's the river underneath you, like, oof. Alright. Okay, so don't take risks here. Don't take risks here. Don't. Come on! For real. For real. How does addition work? What is my ranking? Oh, I still win. It's all good. I really wanted to get the gold there, though, but I will accept that. And as a result, we have PD Piranha and King Boo. The Mario Sunshine Luigi's Mansion boys. And the Piranha Pipes. And so I just want to, like, open up a... Here's the thing is, like, it kind of sucks that you can't really do this with computer players. because this is really awesome, but you can't do it with computer players, which sucks. So I can't show that. I'll go time trials. So it's just me, no items, no nothing, and we can go with these guys in the boo pipes. We'll do a dry desert. Just to play with these characters. I don't usually play with these guys because they're heavy class characters. But you know, it's good to have them unlocked, you know. Man, it feels like they move really slow, even though we are at like 55 miles per hour, so that's standard. They just feel slower, I think, because the camera's more zoomed out because they're bigger. So relatively speaking, they're not close enough to the ground. Do you really only get... Oh yeah, you only get 2 mushrooms in this. I was gonna say, is that better than my previous record? But then I realized, oh, no. I wasn't playing on this version for the last time I did a time trials race. Oh no! Alright, well, I was gonna say, now you're gonna see what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps, but looks like not today, but we're gonna get a crappy time for this. Look at that heat haze effect. Like, that's... I mean, I imagine it's done the exact same way that it's done in Super Mario Sunshine, by that they have sort of like a weird lens that's rendered like a certain distance away from your player character, that warps and distorts everything only from the particular perspective that your camera is at. That feels like, that sounds about right. But I don't know if that's true. But it's probably more or less the same thing that Super Mario Sunshine does. But it looks pretty good for like GameCube. I mean, in general, this game looks pretty good for GameCube. The character models are a little off, though. They're a little compressed. New record! Alright. And so, my goodness, it is like 1 in the morning, so that's it for Mario Double Kart Dash. Thank you for dropping by. If you would like to see an archive of these streams, I have them on my YouTube channel. That's linked below the Twitch video, and if you're on YouTube, then it's already there. I also have my social media links down below if you would like to check those out and follow me there. I will announce my next streams on Twitter. I don't have a regular schedule for it, unfortunately. It's just whenever I have the time to do it. But I will announce them on there, and if you do miss them, then yes, they are all archived. But yeah, thank you for dropping by and spending your night here with me, and have a good night.